The reason God is being quiet right now isn't what you think. And it might not even be the reason you want to hear. His quiet does not mean he's absent. It means he's refusing to speak in a way you've outgrown. Because what you're trying to hear next cannot be learned using the old method. And if God continued speaking to you the way he used to, you would misunderstand him. So instead of raising his voice, he changed the medium. If you've been praying and expecting peace, clarity, or direction, but all you're experiencing is stillness, that doesn't mean God stopped communicating. It means he's teaching you how to listen differently. Most people assume that when God goes quiet, something is wrong. They assume it means distance, disappointment, abandonment. But quiet does not mean absence. Quiet means presence without noise. And God does not remove his voice until he has first secured your attention. Here's the truth no one prepares you for. If God answered you the way you want right now, you wouldn't grow. You would stay dependent. Dependent on feelings. Dependent on reassurance. Dependent on constant confirmation. And that's not intimacy. That's immaturity. God uses quiet when he's transitioning you. Not away from him, but deeper into him. Because the version of you that only listens when everything is loud cannot survive where he's taking you next. Think about it. When life is noisy, busy schedules, emotional chaos, constant stimulation, we don't actually listen. We wait for interruption. We wait for God to break through our noise instead of laying it down. So sometimes, God doesn't compete with the noise. He removes it. And here's the part most people misunderstand. The issue is that you're attempting to pass a college course, but still applying the same elementary techniques to do so. The quiet you're in right now is not punishment. It's preparation. God uses quiet to properly train your ears, because his voice was never meant to be chased. It was meant to be recognized. And recognition requires stillness. Some of you are frustrated because you're praying the same prayers you prayed in the previous seasons. But the way God speaks to you at the beginning is not the way he speaks to you once you're established. Early on, God speaks loudly because you're learning trust. Later, he speaks quietly because you're learning discernment. This is where many people get stuck. They keep asking God to speak louder, while God is actually asking them to be more quiet. Let me say this as clear as I can. God uses quiet to wean you off emotional dependence and lead you into emotional and spiritual stability. Because faith that only functions when God is loud is not the faith he is looking for. So the conditioning transforms it to become what he is. Quiet reveals what noise was hiding. Noise hides fear. Noise hides doubt. Noise hides avoidance. And when the noise goes away, everything surfaces. That's why quiet feels uncomfortable. That's why silence feels heavy. Not because God left, but because now you're finally alone. Alone with what he wants to heal. Some of you didn't lose God's voice. You lost distraction. And that's why this season feels intense. Here's something rarely talked about. God often speaks less right before he trusts you the most. Because instruction eventually gives way to full responsibility. And responsibility requires confidence, not constant need of direction. Just because a parent stops giving step-by-step instruction, that doesn't mean they stopped loving their child. They step back to see how much their child has learned. God does the same. Quiet is not God withholding. Quiet is God observing, watching what you do when you don't feel him, watching what you choose when you're not being affirmed, watching whether you've internalized truth or just relied on sensation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Some people don't want God's voice. They want God's reassurance. They don't want direction. They want relief. And quiet removes relief, so that growth can occur. God uses quiet to mature your obedience. Because obedience that requires explanation is not real obedience. It's negotiation. If God had to explain every step, you would never require trust. And trust is the currency of relationship. This is why the quiet feels so personal. Because it is. God is speaking to who you're becoming, not to who you were. And the version of you he's currently shaping won't require constant noise to move forward. Let me say this slowly. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. Your internal alignment is being strengthened. You're being taught to move without applause. How to pray without immediate reward. And how to obey without emotional reinforcement. And when you finally recognize his voice again, it won't be louder. It will be clearer. Because clarity doesn't come from volume. It comes from familiarity. The reason this season feels different is because you are different. Your discernment is sharper. Your awareness is deeper. And your responsibility is greater. So God adjusts the way he speaks. This is not distance. This is intimacy. The kind that doesn't need noise to exist. So if you're in a quiet season right now, don't panic. Don't force noise. Don't assume abandonment. Instead, ask this. What is the quiet revealing in me that noise used to cover? God uses quiet to prepare you for conversations you're not ready for yet. And when he speaks again, trust me, he will. What you'll realize is he never stopped communicating. He just changed the medium. If this resonated with you, stay here. Not for comfort, but for growth. Because this channel isn't here to soothe you. It's here to mature you. So when you're ready, I'll be here.